Welcome to the Untold, a show where we uncover the hidden mysteries behind everyday lives. Today we have a wonderful guest, a flight attendant, Nikhat Pangarkar. I'm joined by my wonderful colleague, Abdullah.
Yeah, thank you for that introduction, Lujain. And honestly, this couldn't have been timed better because I'm a little bit jet lagged. I'm under the weather. So we have a flight attendant today with us on the show to talk about, the intricacies of this, I would say niche kind of field, but a very important one, right? They are the majority of the connection in charge of the safety protocols and everything between us and the airplane.
Yeah, flight attendant, I think, is not as easy a job as people think it might be,
Yeah.
because there are probably a lot of things going on behind the scenes that we're not aware about, and I'm curious to find out from her what they are.
Yeah, and also the pilots are chilling, resting their, in their rooms, whatever. And so all the pressure is on the flight attendants, right? They got to deal with people, they got to deal with the crisis, they got to deal with troubles immediately, right? So it's really great to have this episode to sit down with one of them and talk about it.
I agree. One of my friends is a flight attendant, and I know how chaotic things can be. So I'm curious to see what Nikki has to say about everything, because I'm sure she's going to tell us wonderful stories because of all the adventures she's probably having. And with that, we're going to go take a short break so we can find out the truth behind flight attending.
And we are back with Nikhat Pangarkar. So first, I want to welcome you on the Untold.
Thank you for having me over here.
Nikhat, you are a flight attendant. I want to ask you, what inspired you to take this as your career path?
Well, I think it started with my mother.
Yeah.
My mom always wanted to be a flight attendant, and she would always talk about the flight attendants in India. They wear their saris and they're all glammed up and walking through the airport, going around the world. So I think we talked about it so much that was instilled in my brains, and that's all I wanted to do growing up, and that's what I ended up doing.
So you fulfilled her dream in a way.
Yes, living the dream.
So how did they react when you first got into flight attendant? Like, were they happy, excited, surprised?
Nobody was surprised, to be honest.
Oh.
Like, everybody knew that's what I wanted to be. Even my friends, in school we used to have these scrapbooks where there were a bunch of questions about life, and we would circulate around all our friends. And every time I had that question, what do you want to do when you grow up? Flight attendant. Nobody was surprised. They're like, oh, we already knew that.
It must have been nice that you knew what you wanted to do, though, because I think a lot of people don't know what they want to do at all when they get older. So I think that must have helped you with a sense of purpose, maybe?
Yeah, it did. I mean, in India, the norm is as soon as a kid is born, you're either a doctor or an engineer. And my case was completely a flight attendant. You're going to be up in the skies. And yeah, it just gave me that push to always do better and look forward to that, and that's what I did.
I understand that because I studied a path in English literature, which is very far off what my father wanted me to do at all. It was not a lawyer, not a doctor, or any of the common roles, even in Arab culture, that we are meant to do. Speaking of how glamorous it is to be a flight attendant, or at least that's what was kind of the image your mother gave you and everything, is it really as glamorous as they say?
It is glamorous, and of course there are parts that are glamorous. I'm not going to say it's glamorous throughout, because there are a lot of non-glamorous things that happen throughout the flight and the career, and it makes you question, like, is this what being a flight attendant was, or it's just something that you're not prepared for, to be honest. From the outside what you see, and the inside of it is like pulls apart.
So was that your first time flying when you got into flight attendant, or did you fly before?
Oh, no. I used to fly all the time as kids, and, watching them, what they're doing, serving passengers, always having a smile on their face. And then when we would leave the aircraft, they would come with us because they have their layovers over there. It's like, oh, this is perfect. They're just traveling. They just go and they serve tea, coffee, food, and that's it. They sit there, chit chat, and that's it. Nothing to do. I thought it was the easiest thing in the world. So yeah, that's what, that was my mindset too.
Yeah.
I've heard, however, that the training can be quite rigorous to be a flight attendant. So can you tell us a bit more about what the training was like?
The training, well, I think the first thing about the training, I would say, is like getting into that mindset that a lot of people's life depend on you. It's not about looking good. It's not about smiling at passengers. It's not about just serving tea and coffee. There's so much that goes into that training. We train for being a firefighter on board and
Oh,
a
wow.
bomb squad, your first aid responder, and from headache to giving birth, we could do all of it.
That's
And
amazing.
we are trained for it. So, I think it's difficult, and you have to be mentally prepared to get into that. And that was one of the toughest things, to have that mindset, because you're going with a mindset where, oh, it's easy. I'm just going to serve tea and coffee and that's it. But you go in there, it's like, oh my God, there's so much more I have to do.
So would you say the training is more focused on, safety precautions, or is it a balance between customer service and safety?
Well, I don't think you can anytime have a balance between the two, because safety is paramount when it comes in aviation. All the safety procedures that are written, they're written in blood because of all the accidents that have happened before. So, most of our training is revolved around your safety procedures, emergency procedures, your first aid, but of course we have substantial amount of training for customer service as well.
I love how it's like, oh, I'm going to just serve tea. I'm going to look pretty. I'm going to be able to fly to different places. And then it's reality, what to do in emergency, if there's a bomb, a birth, an emergency. So it's quite a different, I guess, twist to what you must have thought. And speaking of emergency training and those kind of things, could you tell us something that you guys are trained to do that people may not be aware of?
I can help assist a birth on board,
That's insane.
right?
It really is.
And it's not only, like giving birth it's a very magical and beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And assisting in that is crazy. But, when you are on a flight where your resources are so limited, and the things that you have to do in order that the baby is safe, the mama is safe. And it's not just that after the baby is born, there are so many things after. I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of it because it's a lot, but keeping them safe and comfortable until we land and the actual paramedics come and take over, that is really tough.
No, it sounds like it. And it's honestly amazing that you guys can do that, because obviously that's not what you're trained for in general in life.
Right.
It's usually a medical situation. But the fact that you have to do so many different things that go beyond the typical things you expect a flight attendant to do, kudos to you on that, honestly.
It's kudos to all the flight attendants that
I
have
agree.
to go through this.
I have a friend who's a flight attendant. I didn't know she had to learn all of that stuff. I have to go and tell her, like, girl, I'm very impressed with you now. I know a lot more things. What do you think, Abdullah? Did you know about all of this?
No, honestly, I think from watching movie, we kind of assume that whenever an emergency happens, people just shout, "Is there anyone?"
Yeah, it's like there's a doctor on board, and there always is
So
for some reason.
It's assuring to know that the flight attendants are getting that kind of training. And speaking of that training, what is something that is going to be surprising to people to know that you are trained to do in a crisis?
Well, so the vocabulary that we use on our flights, inshallah, we never have to go through this, but if there was an emergency, like a crash landing or something, the commands that we shout out to the passengers can save all their lives.
Oh, mashallah.
And that is so important. And before we take off, when we're seated on our jump seat, we're not just chit-chatting, we're not looking outside the window or doing anything. We're actually repeating those commands all the time, and we're looking at our able-bodied passengers and the drills that we have to do so we can save your lives, along with ourselves, of course. But so this is something we have to do that on a regular basis for every takeoff and landing.
That's so crazy. Like, I don't think anyone is aware of the amount of pressure you guys are on with all of this stuff, because not only do you have to deal with potential emergency situations, but you also have to always be calm, polite, sweet, the customer is always right kind of situation.
Well, of
and I feel like
course.
that must be very stressful on itself. So how do you manage dealing with all of those emotions, especially on a day when you're maybe not feeling that peppy?
For me personally, I have just trained my mind to understand that this is all momentary. It's gonna pass. And also putting yourself in their shoes, does give you a lot of help. They're like, oh, maybe something went wrong before he stepped into this aircraft, so maybe just be a little patient with them. And plus your training does come into handy because we are trained to keep our emotions in check at all times, because you can't lose your emotion, you can't lose the sight that you have, the far sight. You're there for their safety. People come in different state of mind, the way they speak is different, everything. There are so many barriers that you have, and just to still be yourself and not get overwhelmed, it's something that you have to train yourself to do, and we are trained for it. So
I mean, that's always good to know, right?
yeah.
So what about difficult passengers? Are you also trained for that, or are there other people who are designed for that in the airplane?
Well, no, we have, of course, there are some passengers are different, and sometimes, you have these unruly passengers that, don't want to listen. But we have certain rules, and the way we follow all those, at the end, if still it's not manageable by us, we call security, and that's it.
No, but honestly, that's really amazing because I feel myself, I would snap at somebody if they were being rude to me about something silly or trivial. But like, I know even my friend who's a flight attendant, she's always so patient and so understanding, even in regular day life. And I think that mentality is rubbed on to her everyday life in general. Do you think it's rubbed off on you?
Of course, I spend more of my time on an aircraft than I'm at home ever. So, I'm always in that. In fact, when I come home, I don't want to speak to anybody. I'm just quiet. I do what I need to do, relax, unwind, and go to bed. And then next day it's all over the same thing again, off and out.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So speaking of like a typical day of flying, how does your day start and end for you? Like, could you run us through like an example of how your whole journey goes?
Well, we report for duty a couple of hours before departure. And we collect all the information that's required for the flight. We brush up with our knowledge on our security, safety, first aid, emergency details, whatever we have, and all the specials that we have on the flight, the meal count, and then we go on that aircraft. And it's not just you go there and that's it. I put up all my stuff and then all the passengers are, and no, we have to do our safety checks, security checks, then our first aid checks, and obviously your catering, first duty free, everything. That's when we are sure that everything is in check, there are no threats, everything is in place. That's when the first passenger gets on board.
And what about flight jitters? Do you still get those, or is it now become routine?
I never had them to begin
Oh, okay.
with. I can't really speak for somebody else, but I know my brother, like, he's a horrible flyer. And all our family, like, we've been flying since we were kids, you know, but over time I've seen him also get a little calm because he takes a lot of our flights too, so now it's okay. But for me and any of the flight attendants, I don't think they have any, because if they're there with those jitter, yeah, they're in the wrong profession.
No, that makes total sense because why would you choose flying as the thing you do every single day if you're afraid of flying or get
Yeah,
nervous?
exactly.
I'm like you. I think I've been traveling since a young age, so I've never felt that kind of fear or anxiety on a plane. But my sister actually has. She used to get so much anxiety with takeoffs and landings, and she would not be able to travel without at least someone in the family with her who understood, because she would get so anxious.
Yeah, we get a lot of passengers like that. And for me, you know, they're just walking around and, they're embarrassed to talk about it. So when you go up to them and ask them, is there an issue? And they'll tell you, oh, I'm scared of flying. So I bring them to the galley and I teach them grounding techniques, because it's
Wow.
just panic and anxiety, that they have for flying. So it's very easy. Those 5 rules that you follow, and they take deep breaths and then they sit down, give them water, and just talk to them. And so they just forget about everything.
Wow.
And I always have, I'm sorry, I don't
Oh
mean to
no.
cut you off, but I always have this thing on my cell phone. Those are those frequencies for anxiety.
Oh yeah, like those sound waves and
Yeah, the
stuff, the
sound
relaxing
waves. Yeah,
noises.
White
exactly.
noise?
Some similar.
White noise is, yeah, it's something similar,
Yeah.
but they have different frequency.
Yeah.
It's 582 hertz. So those frequency like relax your mind when you have anxiety. So I tell them, have this. And I always have them, that I give it to them. It's like, just listen to this.
It's so cool that you're trained in so many different techniques. With that, we're going to go on a short break, and then I hope we can discuss this more.
Sure.
Stay tuned for after the break.
And we are back with Nikki, a flight attendant. And I want to first ask you, or maybe after the break, my first question is going to be about some rituals that you do within the flight. Because as someone who travels a lot of times, I can never sleep in an airplane. So, what are some tips and tricks that you have for longer flights, dealing with all these noises, pressures, and everything?
Earplugs. Earplugs, and usually after service, if it's a night flight, we dim the lights so it's comfortable for the passengers to take a nap. Obviously, external factors like a kid crying or something, that's not something that we can really do, but earplugs are your best friend.
You can't lock them up if that happens for the kids.
I mean, I've thought about it. I really can't do it.
There's a secret special zone on the plane for
all
kids who don't
passengers are going to be
behave.
applauding if you do that.
Oh, that's so
Not
funny.
their parents.
Maybe actually their parents would. No comment.
I'm not going to comment on that one.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. Speaking of sleep, I struggle with sleep on planes as well. Like I tend to just watch movies over and over again until I get to my destination. I'll try to rest, but it just doesn't work out. Are earplugs uncomfortable though? Because I feel like I wouldn't know how to sleep with something in my ear. Or do you get used to it?
Oh, I never use some because I never sleep
this
on
is
the
just
flight.
Do you
But
never
it's for
sleep on
passengers.
flights?
Never.
Because I've seen some social media posts showing these secret compartments where flight
Yeah,
attendants
the
sleep.
bunk beds. So they
Did
have
you guys have those
No, we
too?
don't have those.
Okay.
But the other flight attendants, they do, and they can. I personally, even when I travel long distances, I honestly cannot sleep because for me, I'm so used to just walking around the aircraft and dealing with things. Like I can't stay still on an aircraft. So even if long journeys, like I'll usually be taking walks, I'll stand by the galley or the lavatory doing my stretches, and I'm just like, okay. And you as a flight attendant, when you go on a different airline, you're always checking what they're doing, because you're judging. We're not judging really, we're just observing.
I mean, there's not much else for you to do, is there? I mean, there is, but in between those moments where you're done with service and all that.
Exactly. It's nice. I mean,
I'm always envious of people who can, in a click, just sleep in airplanes.
One of my friends is like that. It's so annoying.
Because I remember the last time I went to the United States, before that, I went to a doctor and then I got Ambien, which is a sleeping pill. And then I went there, not sleeping for the whole day. And then in the airport, I took melatonin. And then I got to the airplane, and for 16 hours, I still couldn't sleep.
What's wrong with you?
I can't sleep in airplanes. So whenever I see people who are sleeping by the time the captain is calling, I'm like, you got to jail these people. They're doing something.
I don't know. Those people also to me are very suspicious. One of my best childhood friends is like that. And you could even be talking to her and she'll just pass out. And I'm like, why? Why are you the favorites of the flight? Who made this? It's so unlucky. And I'll even if I don't sleep at all, I still won't sleep on a plane.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. Some people, they find it soothing. Me, I can't. It's especially maybe because we're tall, the seats are just very uncomfortable and stuff.
Even when I was a kid, I was a short kid for a while. I couldn't sleep as well. I don't know, something about airplanes. The constant noise is just
yeah.
That's why I have
white noise for some people.
That's why I have the noise canceling headphones. But even with those, you
They help.
can't turn around if you want to sleep. So yeah.
Oh, speaking of noise, do you have any tricks to deal with the ear pressure stuff that happens when you take off or land?
Yeah, you just chew on a gum.
And it works.
Yeah, because
totally
that's
works.
what is opening all your sinuses up and it's opening your ears. That movement, even for kids, for babies, usually they're the ones that cry a lot during takeoff and landing because of the pressure. So we ask them to just give them a pacifier or just have a bottle in their mouth so they can.
I was
just,
one of those
that-
babies. My mom used to tell me that the first flight they took me on, I started crying and I would not stop. And I was her first child as well, so everything was very new to her. But I was basically that terrible child on the flight that would not let anybody sleep or rest.
Yeah.
I grew out of it, obviously.
I think we can take this moment and give a public service announcement: is that if your child is too young to go to the movies, they're too young to go to the airplanes.
Fair
And
enough.
that's gonna save all of us.
I think that's fair enough.
Now, I do want to ask you about something personally because you've worked in flight attendance for so many years. Do you have favorite routes you'd like to go? Because I know some people who fly a lot, they like the views, they like the scenery more than the destination itself.
I love going to Kathmandu.
Okay.
Nepal is absolutely beautiful. The food is amazing. The people are so lovely. They are so welcoming and warm. So being on that flight also, they're so respectful to you. They're just peaceful people. I just love it. And going over there, the mountains, it's beautiful. Like that's my favorite place to go to. And the flight is the smoothest. That's my favorite.
No, it sounds lovely. And I think
It
that's one
is.
of the best things about being a flight attendant is you get to go see all different places in the world, even in places you wouldn't think of traveling yourself.
Right.
So, do you get to spend a lot of time in those places?
We do have multiple layovers, so yeah, we do get to spend substantial amount of time, but it depends on what time of the year we are taking those flights because sometimes we have a 24-hour layover, sometimes we have 36, sometimes 72. Like it all depends on your schedules. It's because winter schedules are different than summer schedules. So I hope to get winter schedules when I'm going to Kathmandu so I can stay longer.
Understandable. Speaking of schedules, I know from my friend that it's a very chaotic kind of schedule. Do you ever, like, you don't get a sense of stability. So, how does the scheduling work for you? How do you feel about it?
I'm used to it now.
Yeah? Are you able to develop a routine of any kind?
Oh no, it's non-existent. It's non-existent. Like for me, like I have my social life is on a standstill because I can never make plans, and when I'm free, nobody else is free. So I just end up traveling.
That was literally the same problem with my friend. We would try to make plans with her all the time, but because her schedule changed like on a weekly, sometimes 2 week basis, sometimes she'd be called in for like an emergency situation because someone else couldn't. So
Yeah.
it was impossible to plan with her. Seeing her was like a once in a blue moon situation.
Oh
Bless
yeah.
her.
Now this question, I think it's not only for people in aviation. It's also a lot. The same goes for doctors.
Yeah, very true.
My best friend, she's a doctor. So her and I, like, she lives right across the street from me, and I see her twice a year.
Both of you have the most chaotic schedules on the planet.
Exactly.
So how do you even meet?
Never. It's never.
At least you both understand where each other are coming from.
Yeah, I've known her 37 years now.
Oh, mashallah.
Mashallah,
Yeah.
like we grew up together, so we know we don't ever have to say like there'll be days we don't talk to each other, and then we'll like get back into it like, oh, what, this happened, that happened, and you want to meet? And I'm working. "Oh, okay.
Oh, that's amazing. I love those kind of friendships. Speaking of, do you ever end up making friends on these journeys of yours, like with passengers or people you meet in places, or is it always just too fast and transient for it to be a real thing?
Well, on shorter flight, it's kind of hard to get into a conversation. But, as a flight attendant, I'll tell you one thing. We are also therapists on board, which we're not trained for. But you'll have the random passengers come to you know what happened to me today? And you're just listening to them like, oh, okay. And then if you give them some advice and they're really appreciative of it, they're like, oh, we should definitely meet up. And there's sometimes I think people do meet up. I'm not one of that person.
Understandable, I think.
I can't even meet my friends, let alone someone new
Right? It's like I
in my
just met you. I
life.
have a woman I've known for 37 years that I haven't been able to see. Priorities, you know?
No, but bless her heart, I have made friends with a lot of passengers, and I've kept in touch with them, because of their kids maybe, or their mother or sister or somebody. But I never really met anybody outside because just the schedules don't meet. So I meet them on flights. They'll tell me, "Oh, I'm on this route. I'm going, example, Dubai. Like, are you on this flight?" So if possible, I'll take that flight to just see them.
Speaking of your experiences on your flights, was there any moment with people or like a situation that happened, good or bad, that really changed the way you see flight attending?
I don't think I have like a moment that I can pinpoint on. There are so many. But at the end of the day, taking the good out of all situations, you do make a difference in people's lives.
Yeah, that's true.
just by a smile. And like I had mentioned before, you don't know what they have been through before they got onto your aircraft, and you just listen to them and be kind to them. And that alone can diffuse so many emotions and just make you relax. And that's a difference that you're making. And a little kid comes to you and they give you a little painting, or they give you a little hug before you go.
Aw,
It's like it's the
that's
cutest
so
thing ever.
cute. No, those
Someone
moments
to
must
them.
make it worth it.
Oh, of course, definitely. And we don't get opportunities as much in our lives to do that on a daily basis. But unfortunately, I can say that for a lot of people, but not for myself. Alhamdulillah, for me, I get to do that every single day, and I'm very grateful
That's
for
so
that.
beautiful.
Yeah, and speaking of doing this for every single day, you have stated that this has always been a dream of yours, right? To be a flight attendant. And now, after so many years of doing it, is that passion still there, or is it now a job? Because I
No, no,
know,
no, definitely.
yeah,
I love what I do. Of course, the perks are there. There's amazing. But I think the people that I work with are fantastic people, and I look forward to flying with them all the time. And they are young, they keep it peppy. So I'm always in a peppy mood with all of them. And the passengers are amazing. The uncertainty of a day is the best thrill I get every single day, because I don't know what's going to happen today. So, yeah, bring it on. It's fun.
That's such a lovely answer. And I'm so glad that you still have that enthusiasm and love for traveling. It's like you found your calling here, or you've always known it, really. But do you have any advice for any people, especially young women, who might want to become a flight attendant?
Well, you
have
have to.
patience.
Yes, I was about to say. Well, patience is the key, but you have to be prepared for the responsibility that comes with it. You can't be overwhelmed by it for a very long time, because initially when you get into it, it does overwhelm you with all the information that's being fed to you, and you're just lost. And people that come into the industry, they're fairly young, and the generation has changed so much. They question everything. So they don't understand. So they have to just keep quiet, listen, bask in the glory of aviation, and understand that it's a responsibility. It's not just fun and games. Yes, there is fun and games, but you are there for saving lives in case of emergency. And once you understand that, everything is just easy. And yeah, you're gonna be living life, on the edge. This job literally gives you wings, and you're seeing
Literally.
life from 39,000 feet. Experiencing cultures and different people, the different cuisines, everything. It's a lot, and it's a lot of fun.
It does sound fun, chaotic but fun.
Yes.
And I want to thank you for taking the time to come with us on the show today
Of course.
and showing us the full spectrum of flight attending on all the different wonderful sides of it. So thank you so much for joining us.
Of course, it was a pleasure.
It really was. We're going to go on a short break, but thank you, Nikki, and hopefully you enjoy the rest of your years flying.
Thank you.
Stay tuned for after the break.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we've had on today's episode of The Untold. Honestly, it was so great to talk with Nikki. By the way, she prefers to be called Nikki. This is not something we start calling
We just
her by
decided to start calling her that.
Yeah.
We choose the names now.
It is. And honestly, it was so fun to see how lively she was, how she, full of passion about her, field she was, and how she was talking about it with great enthusiasm.
Yeah, and the fact that it was something that she's wanted to do since a young age and she did it and she still loves it, I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I was so surprised at the kind of story she told us, because as we found out, it's not just serving tea and customer service. There's a lot of emergency and real life or death situations flight attendants have to be trained for, which is crazy when you think about them just being ordinary people, such as birth situations or other scary situations that may happen. And I was really surprised by that.
Yeah, honestly, they're the first line of defense, right, in the airplanes. Whatever emergency you have, they're the ones who got to deal with it. And I do love how she kept her enthusiasm after so many years of work in the field. And, the statement goes true, right? If you're work in something you love, you're not going to work a day in your life. And we obviously saw that, how she was filled with love and passion for all of this.
I agree. Also, the fact that she's able to stay calm and collected and be polite to passengers no matter what kind of situation she arises is a very amazing skill and something I think we can all learn from.
Yeah. With that being said, we do got to wrap this episode on, and I do got to go and get my ginger tea on. So with that being said, that's the end of us from The Untold. But until the next one, goodbye for now.
Goodbye.